His Eminence Sayyid Ibrahim Khalil al-Bukhari, founder and chairman of the Madina Academy, Honorable Professor C. Ravindran, Minister of Education, Excellencies, brothers and sisters in humanity. Before I deliver my keynote address, allow me to express my profound gratitude and appreciation to this institution through its leadership, especially the founder and chairman of the Madina Academy, my dear brother Sayyid Ibrahim Khalil al-Bukhari. I would also like to thank the members of the Council for their decision to confer on me the Vicennium Erudite Award, a distinction which is being given for the first time on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the Madina Academy. A decision made without expectation or requirement of me to sit for interview or present a written proof of my competence. It is a very special honor which I accept with deepest humility and pleasure. But I'm also aware that while such an award brings honor, it also bestows enormous responsibilities. I can assure you that it is a responsibility I'm prepared to fulfill as a faithful member of your community. I do know that this award is no personal achievement you are recognizing, but the achievement and sacrifice of all those around the world who, despite adversity and challenging circumstances, have remained faithful to the ideals of human rights, justice, equality, and dignity of all humankind. Those who continue to advocate, despite threats to their lives, often paying the ultimate price for a fairer and just world where humanity can peacefully coexist and diversity and differences are celebrated as a source of unity and strength. It is therefore a call and privilege I accept with grace. I can confidently assure you that for the rest of my life, I will always treasure the memory of being associated with this great institution, the Madina Academy, and its community of scholars, and especially all those academic luminaries who have had a rare privilege of calling the Madina Academy their intellectual home, whether as students, scholars, researchers, or teachers. Your Excellency, brothers and sisters in humanity, I should say that today is an important day because I believe that there is no better place to discuss issues relating to education for future and the future of education than Madina Academy, a famous university with an illustrious history where both finest students and academics continue to engage in cutting-edge research and scholarship. To share my thought and engage with you on this topic is therefore a privileged task I accept with humility. Chairman of the Madina Academy, Honorable Minister of Education, violence and conflicts, whether in the name of politics, religion, natural resources, or sheer power, is one of the most profound and enduring global challenges we face today. We therefore need to continue working together to put strategies in place to confront this terrible phenomenon. In particular, we should support and encourage young people to see and strive for a world of fairness, justice, and empowerment. There is no better place to advance these ideals and values than within the halls of education institutions like the Madin Academy. As the United Nations official in charge of the prevention of genocide, you will understand that I focus my remarks on the importance of education in prevention. 70 years ago, world leaders were unanimous in saying never again to the horrible crimes committed during the Second World War and adopted the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. This was a time for hope. Hope that future generations would be spared from falling victims to what has been labeled as the crime of crimes, genocide. A crime that did not start with the Genocide Convention, but to which the Convention finally put a name and established a legal obligation to prevent and punish it. We just commemorated the 70th anniversary of the Genocide Convention. However, we cannot fully rejoice during this anniversary. The genocide that took place in Cambodia, Rwanda, and Srebrenica could have been prevented. Nowadays, not only do we continue to witness ethnic and religious tensions in various regions of the world, but worryingly, there has been a dangerous increase in the number of situations that merit our urgent attention. The extreme forms of identity-based violence that we have witnessed in countries such as the Central African Republic, Iraq, South Sudan, and Syria are unacceptable. But equally intolerable are the serious human rights violations and abuses that different ethnic, religious, or national groups are suffering in Myanmar, Nigeria, or in the North Caucasus, to name just a few. Europe is facing a wave of populism that is slowly eroding the enjoyment of rights and promoting the rise of racism, xenophobia, hate speech, and hate crimes. In the United States, migrants and refugees are being vilified. All these should raise alarms. However, the level of complacency is still strong. How can we then disrupt these tendencies? It is my firm belief that it all starts with education. Education is the most important tool we have to prevent genocide and other similar atrocities. To educate people to respect each other, to accept each other no matter their differences. To educate people to understand that the color of their skin does not determine their humanity. That my God is not mightier than your God. That my culture is not superior to your culture. And that this diversity is a richness and not a problem. That we are all human beings and that we all have the same human rights. Education starts at home, with parents teaching their children these values. We are who we are because of our life experiences and the principles we were transmitted when we were young. Education also starts at schools, with our teachers imparting knowledge about science, history, different cultures, and the same values of respect or simply for one another. Teachers are influencers from very young age in kindergarten to adulthood in universities, instilling in students a critical thinking about the world. Education for the prevention of genocide and other international crimes should also look into the past to learn about it and from it. Learning about past violence and atrocity crimes, including genocide, teaches us about what we want to prevent in our present and for our future, and how to do it. As no region in the world is immune to the risk of atrocity crimes, this is important to all societies, including the Indian society. Of course, education about the past is particularly relevant in societies which have a history of atrocity-related violence. Such societies are typically more prone to recurrence, particularly where the legacies of that violence and the crimes committed were not adequately addressed. Only learning about the past, and not only that, addressing that past, can those societies heal and build a future in which population can live in peace and harmony. We have seen that failure to deal adequately with the past increases the likelihood of renewed instability and violence. How can this be done? Well, for example, by introducing in school curricula at young ages education on human rights, recognizing past atrocities and the importance of preventing them, by establishing museums, memorial sites, university programs, by using new technologies and social media to raise awareness and impart knowledge about these issues. For this, we need the support of all partners. The prevention of atrocity crimes needs the support and commitment of the international community, and in particular the states, who are primarily responsible for the protection of their populations. States need to develop long-term national strategies that will avert the risk of genocide, and these strategies should prioritize education about these issues. Education is a long-term strategy that plays a vital role to build the resilience to violence. Unfortunately, some of the conflicts we are witnessing, such as the one which led to the mass exodus of millions of Rohingya, the most persecuted group in our world today, are perpetrated at the behest or indeed at the acquiescence of states or those in the position to prevent them. It is this sobering reality which calls for our collective action and a new way to address these challenges. And this is one of the reasons why recently I wrote to Prime Minister Modi expressing concern about the situation of the Rohingya and making a call so that they not be subjected to refoulement to Myanmar, where the situation is yet to be properly addressed. Your Eminence, Sheikh Honorable Education Minister, a preventive approach and broad-based education policies are increasingly being recognized as the best option to prevent and address conflicts and violence. And that is why I believe that education is a security issue, and not any education, but education that specifically opens young minds to the other, those who are culturally and religiously different from our communities. This is your call as academics and researchers to contribute not only to policies affecting these issues, but also help shape young men and women in these institutions to become responsible global citizens. Students who fully recognize that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. My dear brothers and sisters in humanity, I'm one of the people who strongly believe that establishing a strategy aimed to introduce peace education is critical in our today world. We need, therefore, to make sure that we incorporate the universal values of peace, non-violence, tolerance, and respect for human rights in all education curricula and methods. Learning institutions must work towards educating students in the benefits of literacy and knowledge needed to fulfill self-development, in addition to teaching participation in society and how to collectively improve quality of life. Indeed, peace education reaffirms the importance of human rights education. When discussing the need for a shift of mindset, we need to more closely examine the underlying causes that force people to resort to violence, both in order to understand its societal impact and to come up with strategies to reduce its spread. Extremism thrives when human rights are violated. Rule of law is considered as inconvenience barrier to those in power. Political space is shrunk. Legitimate aspirations of citizens are ignored or crushed altogether, and many people, especially youth, lack positive prospects and meanings for their lives. The greatest challenge facing our globalized world is to combat and eradicate its disparities. While in all parts of the world, progress is being made in entrenching democratic forms of governance, we constantly need to remind ourselves that the freedoms which democracy brings will remain empty shells if it is not accompanied by real and tangible improvements in the material lives of the millions of ordinary citizens of those countries, where men and women and children go burdened with hunger, suffering from preventable diseases, languishing in ignorance and illiteracy, or finding themselves bereft of decent shelter. Talk of democracy and freedom that does not recognize these material aspects can ring hollow and erode confidence exactly in those values we seek to promote. Hence, our universal obligation towards the building of a world in which there will be greater equality among nations and citizens. With recognition that we live in a highly interdependent and yet most unequal world, we enter the new millennium in the hope and promise that the multitude achievements in learning, science, and technological advancement will in this coming century truly be harnessed and shared by all, both in prosperous and less known countries. Unfortunately, this optimism has been challenged by the realities of injustice, conflict, economic deprivation that continue to afflict billions of our fellow citizens in different parts of the world, especially in the South. I'm confident that the Madin Academy will continue to play a leading role in fulfilling and achieving this sacred mission. I'm confident that the Madin Academy, following in its rich and illustrious tradition and history, and evidenced by its commitment to excellence in research and scholarship, intends to remain at the forefront in addressing these most pressing challenges I have shared with you. And I have no doubt that His Eminence, the Sheikh Said Ibrahim Khalid al-Bukhari, founder of the Madin Academy, will remain truly committed to building a peaceful world. And building a peaceful world means start by building a peaceful community from here, Kerala, but also throughout the whole of India, because India should benefit from its diversity. The diversity of India is its wealth, it is its richness. And therefore, it is my sincere hope that the work of the Madin Academy will help to spread the message of peace throughout India, will help to mobilize religious leaders and religious actors throughout this country, so that all together join forces, all together respect each other, be they Buddhist, be they Hindu, be they Muslim, Christian, simply realize that they are one nation, that they are one humanity, and that they will share the burden to build peace throughout this country and throughout the world. And on my part, I will spare no effort in supporting the objective of the Madin Academy, as ultimately we are one world, we are one humanity. Shukran jazilan. I thank you very much for your listening.